Hi, I'm Steph.
And I'm Kenan.
Welcome
Welcome to
to
Twin
Twin
Chat.
Chat. So I'm Steph Kafori, and I'm so happy you're here today listening to our podcast or on our YouTube station. I am a mom of three. I live in Hawaii, and Kenan is my identical twin sister. And we are both working professionals. I am a life coach, and Kenan is a teacher. Kenan, I'll let you introduce yourself.
My name is Kenan McCumber, and I'm a mom of two boys, ages 13 and 11. I live in Bend, Oregon. And Steph and I have been finishing each other's sentences for the past 43 years. We are best friends and soulmates. And we are really excited to be collaborating on this venture of a podcast and YouTube channel to have real conversations with real people and thinking about women empowering women. And it was Steph's idea to dress the same. Why don't you tell us a little bit about this, Steph?
Yeah, so our whole lives we have been trying to look different because we have been the twins, trying to establish our own identities, trying to find our own uniqueness. And so we thought it would be funny to really show you from the outside that, we are wearing this. Yes, we are wearing the same outfit. I know the podcasters can't see us, but we are wearing polka dot, what do you call it? A jumpsuit, jumper. Um, and that Kenan bought because Kenan is the fashionista, and she usually buys all the clothes for me and just buys two of the same size and sends it to me. So thank you for that, sister. But we want to talk today about who we are together and who we are as individuals, because it has been such a journey for us to come into our own, and we're hoping that through our journey, you can see some of yourself in us. Maybe not relate to the twinness, but you can relate to being compared, looking at a magazine and seeing, someone who you want to look like, or I wish I looked like that, or I wish I had this attribute. And and that's one of the wonderful things about being a twin, is that we have so many similarities, but we also want to highlight our differences and share that with you guys today. And Kenan, I would love for you to talk about the purpose of this podcast, because it's not just about us talking about twins and who we are, but we want you to get to know us in this first podcast and really see some insight into our lives before we share with you other people that we're going to bring on our show. So, Kenan, would you like to tell people about why we're doing this podcast, what our intention is?
Yeah, absolutely. So, first, I want to give the credit to you because this was really your idea, Steph. And you came to me and said, "Hey, listen, let's start a podcast." Literally, this was last week. And I was like, "What? I listen to podcasts, but what does that mean?" And we had talked like 10 years ago, before podcasts were even a thing, about collaborating on a project together because we love working together, but we have different career paths. And so we decided, when you brought this up, I was like, well, of course, doing something with my twin, my identical twin, absolutely. Let's dive into this. So when we were thinking of our intention, we were really thinking about women in our lives and people who have inspired us in different avenues, and bringing them on and joining us as we talk about real life issues, focusing on the journey of well-being. So, I'm excited with the lineup that we have moving forward of our guests that will be joining us. But as you said, Steph, this episode is really about letting all of you out there know who we are. And, a big thing about a question that often we have been asked, I can't even tell you how many times in our lives is, what's it like being a twin? And my immediate response is, well, what's it like not being a twin? And I don't know. I mean, to have somebody that looks just like we are constantly being compared for better or for worse. And, um, you know, this unconditional deep love that we share with each other is incredible, but that doesn't come, I mean, that also comes with its challenges. Even to this day, in fact, at my school, there is a teacher named Stephanie, and I'll be walking down the halls, and another teacher will say her name, and I automatically turn. I'm so used to answering to your name, as I'm sure you are to mine.
Mhm.
Um, but so just, that piece of um, constantly looking at, not only do I look at you, Steph, and I say, oh, that outfit looks good on you, or wow, you sure are tan because you live in Hawaii and I'm not. But there's the physical piece that we look so much alike, and then you touched upon, but we are separate individual human beings,
Mhm.
and that's something that we want to open up to with all of you today and sharing some of our experiences. Um, Go ahead, Steph.
No, I was just saying, I think that you're spot on there, sister. And it's funny, we call each other. I had to make a mental note. Don't call her sister, call her Kenan, so that our podcast viewers know who's talking. So, and that actually, made me think like this is real. Like we are not editing experts. We're not YouTubers. We're not Instagram experts. We are trying this on and putting it out there in a way that we hope is authentic and relatable to our listeners. And we want it to be unpolished. We want it to be real. I think that's the essence of this is real people with real stories and real conversations. And we may fumble, things may get uncomfortable, we may use the wrong verbiage, but that's okay. And we give each other permission to do that, and we give ourselves permission to laugh and have fun. Like the whole point of this is to have fun. And we that's the beauty of the sisterhood, is that Kenan and I have so much fun together. And we may break out into dance song maybe, and we're like the worst singers in the world. um, and I just want our audience to know that we were open to sharing with you some pretty intimate details of our lives, because we also want you to know that you're not alone. And when we invite people on our show, we want them to open up and be real, because it is hard to be vulnerable. It's hard to worry about what other people are going to think. And are they going to think this is stupid? Are they going to like not want to listen to our podcast? But I'm going into this thinking all you people want to listen to us, and it's going to be a fun ride. And hopefully you learn something, and hopefully you feel it on a different level too, that it gets to some core place in your heart where you maybe can feel some expansion, or some letting go of something that's maybe you're holding on to. So,
Well,
with that,
Steph, I just want to add on one thing before we move on. Just, sort of that fear of judgment that might hold us back from something. And, that's why we decided to jump into this as is. Like I've heard numerous times about people who have had ideas to start something, whether it be a podcast or a new life endeavor, and they stop short for fear, because of fear. And so, this is not scripted. Again, like you said, this is about us being in the moment together with all of you. And that's why we chose to do a podcast and a YouTube channel, so that if you are somebody who wants to see us and connect with us in our energy, seeing our faces and expressions, awesome. We're so glad that you're with us in that capacity. Or if you choose to listen to us, take us on a walk with your ears in, or on doing your exercise. That's fantastic. So we're just really thrilled to have you with us as we start this journey together.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think we we kind of wanted to start this off playfully too, because we're just getting comfortable in this domain. So I thought, Kenan, if you want to do this, we sort of have a question popcorn where I ask you a question, you ask me a question, and we'll kind of start, like I said, playful, and then get a little bit deeper. And what I would ask you listeners and viewers to think about while we're doing this is notice the beliefs that come up for you, what thoughts you have about yourself, and how that has defined who you are. Because that's sort of what we're going to get to the essence of right now is, through our twinhood, is is really what we've taken, to be a belief or a fact, when in fact it's just a judgment, potentially just a judgment. So, all right, sister, what's your favorite color?
Well, Steph, it is blue. What about you?
Always been my favorite color, yellow, but I'm going to add turquoise.
Ooh, I did know yellow.
Yeah.
Awesome. Steph, what is your favorite twin story?
My favorite twin story is when we were in college, Kenan and I both, we went to our college bookstore. It was our birthday, April 30th, and we picked out the exact same birthday card for each other. So Kenan was in Colorado, I was in Washington, and it came with like just a plain white envelope. And we're like, white envelope. So we and we're not these kind of people where we went over and took the envelope, a yellow envelope from the neighboring card, and sent that to each other. So we thought that was amazing. Like, not only did we send each other the same card, but we both took an envelope that didn't belong with that card. And then another really quick one is when we were in college, we were both studying abroad. Kenan was in Spain and I was in Austria. And we met up in Paris, and we both, unbeknownst to each other, gotten belly button pierces. And so we rock up to the Paris train station, and Kenan goes, "Look what I did." She flips up her shirt. And I go, "Look what I did." I flip up my shirt. And we both had belly button rings. And we were wearing the exact same pair of Victoria's Secret underwear. And it was blue striped. It wasn't, regular white underwear. And so we thought that was pretty funny story to, uh, not only be getting the same body piercing, but to rock up and surprise each other with the same underwear. How about you,
I love
sister?
I love those stories, Steph, of those moments that we, you know, whether it's our thoughts that we are thinking the same thing at the same time, we often call each other at the same time. I mean, it happens so often, but I love those two stories that you just shared. Um, my story would really have to be before we were born, when we were in utero, and it's the story that has been told, of course, to us. And it was when our mom was pregnant, and she did not find out until 6 weeks before we were born that she was actually having twins. And we have an older brother, Trevor, who lives in Portland. He's 2.5 years older. So she had gone through a pregnancy before us. And this time she just felt like it was so different. She said it was like gymnastics going on in her belly. And so she went in to see her doctor, and he listened to the heartbeat. And he's like, "No, one heartbeat, but if you're feeling this way, let's get you in for an ultrasound." And so the doctor, breaks the news to her. Lo and behold, there are two babies in there, and our mom burst into tears. I think more out of fear than joy, but it was that coupled, her finding out she was having twins, when she had first found out that she was pregnant. Shortly thereafter, our grandmother, my mom's mom, passed away, and her dream was for my mom to have a girl, to have a daughter. And so Steph and I often feel and say that our grandmother blessed my mom so much that she ended up with not just one girl, but two. So that's really special, like just such a, to my heart, special story that I love.
Yeah. Yeah. And what about what's one of the hardest moments in a twin story?
Oh, yeah, I don't know if you even to this day know how difficult this was for me, but it takes us back in time to high school. And um, so, to give you a little bit of background knowledge, viewers, this and listeners, Stephanie and I love sports. We pride ourselves on being athletes, and so we're quite competitive. I'll be completely honest, with each other, with others. We are also each other's greatest supporter, but we've also definitely battled against each other and ended um, in tears sometimes based on you beating me at tennis or whatnot, but or vice versa. But it was our sophomore year, and we were on the JV basketball team. And a couple weeks into the season, you Stephanie got asked to join the varsity team, and I was devastated. I felt so deflated. I felt like a loser. I felt judged. I felt really compared, like everyone was going to know. It was a really big deal as a sophomore to be asked to be on varsity anyway. And then it was like, oh, that twin made it and the other one didn't. And it really stood out. And I will never forget going home that day that you found out and they actually moved you to the other team, to the other gym. And I came home and just bawled in the closet. I was so upset. What about you, Steph? What's been
Well, you
one
know,
of the hardest moments?
I want to just respond to that though, sister, because I knew that it was hard for you, and I wish that we had the emotional intelligence that we do now, because I would have gone to you and said, "Hey, I know this is really hard, and I know you're smiling and putting on a happy face for me because you're proud of me, but I know that it's hard and it sucks, um, and it's it's those big things in life, right? Those disappointments where you're like, it's right in your face too, that the comparison is there, and you know, I think just to kind of piggyback off of what you're saying, I think probably one of my hardest moments was, in high school. I was, we were battling with trying to establish our own identities, and we would one would cut our hair, one would get bangs, we would, um, we had the same best friends, we played the same sports, we got the same grades on tests, like everything was so in your face, like we couldn't, I felt like I didn't know how to find myself at that age. Who am I besides the twin? And I it led me to take a semester or a quarter of the junior year and go to South Africa, and it was an amazing experience. I don't really want to talk in detail about that. Maybe that we'll save that for another episode, um, about going abroad and stuff. But what it really was that, how did I find that peace when we were together, right? And I remember we both like sort of separated a little bit, and you had a different group of friends and I found a different group of friends. And to be honest, I thought I was the loser. Like I thought I was, you know, I always saw you as prettier and more popular and more boyfriends, and so I took on this role of, okay, I must be, you know, do well in academics. And so I did. I studied hard and I got good grades, and I um I really kind of changed a little bit about who I was to try to be different. And I see that now as an adult, and I look at that child, right? And I just want to say to her, you're okay. You were okay just the way you were. And But we still try, we still do that as adults, right? We are constantly in this battle of who am I? Deep exploration. Um, what brings me joy? And I think, there is this belief in the, and I touched upon this before, but when that mind believes it, and we believe it as an inherent truth, but we have to remember those beliefs are created by the mind, and it's your choice whether or not to believe it. And what freedom can happen when you see that as just a belief, and it's a judgment, and that it's part of our human conditioning. And when we can actually recognize it, we can release it, and there's freedom.
And Steph, I love, I mean, you said that so beautifully. Um, and as you were saying that, I was thinking to myself, as we deconstruct the beliefs through also a channel of being able to verbalize that, right? So there's that process that goes on in our head, and then there's that release of it. So, as you said just a couple minutes ago, like you felt like I was the popular one or the pretty one, and I'm going, really? You felt that way? And but having honest, real conversations, it releases that,
Yeah.
and we can move forward in the authenticity of who we are as we deconstruct what are, and when I say false beliefs, that's not even accurate in saying that. It's it's just the belief.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whether it is, I mean, truth or not truth, it is what we are experiencing.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think about high school students and where, back where we, putting ourselves back into there, since we've just told two experiences from that, and how much we've evolved as grown-ups, into these 43 years that we've been on the earth. But it's still a process.
Yes.
We don't have the answers. I still, when I was fortunate to get to see you a few weeks ago, and I was like, dang, she looks good. And I put my arm up and I was like, ooh, white skin next to that beautiful tan, aloha Hawaii. But then it was like, I don't have to, but again, I think it's about that comparison again, and being able to say, yeah, oh my God, I'm thrilled that you're doing awesome. And not just physically, because you are mentally in a really great space. But that's also been through a lot of hard work.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think too, Kenan, I admire you so much, and I admire your journey, and I see you, um, I see you through this lens, right? I see you where you are this, actually, I was going to jump to one place, but I want to go back to college, right? You knew exactly where you wanted to go to college. You applied to one school, you applied early action, you got in, you went through, fast track to become a teacher. You knew from when you were a little girl, I want to be a teacher. And, and I see that, and I want you to tell more about your journey, but that's the lens that I see it through, is this amazing accomplishment. You've been teaching for what, 20 years? And you're, a superstar teacher. You get so much praise from your fellow faculty members, from your administration, from your parents, from your students. Like the notes that you get, they bring a tear to my eye. And I feel this overwhelming sense of pride that this is my sister. Look at all the good she's doing in the world. And you are. And I'm so proud of you.
Thank you, Steph. And I accept that. Thank you for that rich, deep, heartfelt compliment. And, I've often thought that I've kind of taken more of an easy route in my life. Like, oh, I know what I want to do and I did it. And, but I look at what you've done with risk taking and the courage it takes. Um, Steph has explored many avenues in her life, as far as career choices, and you have been successful at everything you've done. And not without hard work, not without determination, but I look at even, back in the day when you were super into yoga and you decided to become a yoga instructor. And then you went into advertising and moved over to Amsterdam and lived and worked abroad, to then coming back and launching your own business that has been incredibly successful. Um, and then all of a sudden, a movement and shift into life coaching. And, ever since we were little girls, I watched you take risks and not just follow one path. And I admire you to no end for that piece. You are an inspiration. And, I don't minimize what I have done as far as staying more on a linear path. But it takes a lot to do what you've done. And I want you to know that from me.
Well, thank you, sister. And you have been my biggest cheerleader and my my sounding board, my I'd say my right hand man, because we're both left-handed. But you've been there. I mean, through everything, and it, I guess I thank you for saying that, because there have been times in my life where I have been wrought with shame um, and fear. And, am I too fickle in my career choices? Am I, wanting approval, right? That I am successful, I can make money, I can do this on my own. And, I've had you by my side, and I'm excited for the future podcasts, and for our YouTube or viewers to dive deeper into these things, because you've been by my side through my first miscarriage, and then having to have a D&C when we lost our baby girl, um, through separation with my husband, and loving and supporting me as we've gone through lots of different marriage challenges. And that's been a gift. You flew home from the day that you found out that Jim and I were separating. You flew home from Costa Rica, or the next day you got on a plane and said, I got to be with my sister. And um, and that was a really difficult time, and that was a couple of years ago. But it was a really difficult time in our lives, and in my life. And um, you showed up without even a question. And I know it was a lot to leave your job and leave your family, and come be by my side. And that's love. That's true love.
Steph, I think about you opening up like this, um, to our viewers and our listeners. And there is no such thing as perfect. There is no life that is ideal. And, we can just be there for each other and accept where we are in the moment. And there's nothing that would have stopped me from being with you when I knew you needed me more, my support more than anything, and really to physically be in the same place. At the time, I had been living in Costa Rica with my family and teaching abroad. But, I want people out there to also know that you don't have to have an identical twin to be that for somebody else. And we have you and I have incredible friends in our lives who, it's not to compare because nobody will ever be you. But they fill us with so much. And I feel such gratitude to have amazing people in our lives that are supportive. And I just want to say, you know, that being the best person you can be for somebody else is such a gift. And letting somebody know. So, like, if judgment comes in to say, oh, well, I feel envious or I feel jealous of someone, maybe turning that to say, how can I support somebody else versus letting ourselves go down a rabbit hole that isn't helpful. But I love you so much. And I cannot think of anyone that I would rather embark on this journey with as we launch into Twin Chats.
Yeah. And the feeling is, you couldn't have said it better, sister. So I won't even try to reiterate what you said. And I just I want to thank everyone for listening today and for being a part of this journey with us, because it's a journey, and it kind of, we don't know where it's going to take us. Like that's the journey of life, right? The beauty of it is that it is, we're going into the unknown. And um, I want to take away all the stigmas that keep us from really talking about real things, whether it be fear or shame, and normalizing things like, whether it be, marital things, financial things, spiritual things, um, career things, whatever it is that that we feel is limiting us, holding us back. When we release it and put it out there, it is a freedom. Um, it's a joy also in knowing that you're not alone. And even though we have each other side by side, I say this to our listeners and viewers: you're not alone. You're not alone. And we're so excited for you guys to tune into our next episode in a couple days. We'll be letting you all know about that. And thank you.
Thank you.